You're not tired, you're undisciplined. That's the truth no one wants to admit. You keep lying to yourself, calling it burnout, calling it stress, pretending it's your circumstances, but deep down you know it's weakness. You know you've got the energy to scroll endlessly, binge shows, fantasize about success, but when it's time to build, to move, to rise, suddenly you're empty. Why? Because you're chasing motivation like a drug addict chasing his next high. And when it doesn't show up, you fold, you quit, you disappear. But let me tell you something brutal. Winners don't wait to feel like it. They move through the mud, through the darkness, through the doubt. I don't believe in motivation, I believe in discipline. I am a disciplined person. That's the difference. That's what separates the men from the boys, the lions from the sheep. You keep praying for drive, but what you really need is discipline, because when everything in you says no, discipline screams yes and drags you forward. That's how greatness is built, not by feeling good, but by doing what must be done when it feels impossible. The temporary satisfaction of quitting is outweighed by the eternal suffering of being a nobody. And trust me, being a nobody isn't painful in the moment. It's a slow rot, a quiet death, a life where your dreams bury you in regret. Discipline is the foundation of freedom. And if you don't have it, you're a slave to your mood, your emotions, your laziness. You either rise now or you stay down forever. Because the truth is this, you will never be anything until you're willing to work when you don't feel like it. No one's coming to save you. No one's gonna hand it to you. Success is the result of discipline, dedication, and sacrifice. People who train every day do not want to train every day. They're not fueled by emotion. They're forged by decision. So ask yourself, are you willing to suffer for your name, or will you let another day pass while the life you want laughs in your face? Decide right now, because every second you wait, another man out there is sharpening his sword while you're still staring at the handle. Most of you will never make it, and not because you're dumb, not because you're poor, not because the system is rigged. Those are the lies you whisper to yourself so you can sleep at night. The truth is colder. The truth is you're addicted to motivation, like a junkie. You sit and wait for a feeling to strike, some magical lightning bolt of energy to hit your spine and drag you into greatness. But greatness doesn't work like that. The universe does not reward the man who waits, it rewards the man who builds. The man who shows up on Monday morning at war with his own comfort. The man who gets up at 5 a.m. not because he wants to, but because he has to, because he's chosen a mission bigger than himself. And this is what you fail to understand. Discipline is the path to freedom, and motivation is the path to slavery. Do what you feel is the mantra of the broke, the weak, the forgotten. Do what must be done. That's the law of kings. You think winners feel like showing up every day? You think the strongest minds on earth feel inspired 24/7? Of course not. Some days the body hurts, the mind is foggy, the world feels like it's crushing down on your chest. But the disciplined man moves anyway. He moves through pain, through boredom, through doubt, because his goals are not negotiable. He doesn't need to be motivated because his life is engineered around discipline. That's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him unstoppable. While you're scrolling through your phone looking for the next pump-up video, the disciplined man is building his empire, brick by brick, hour by hour, in silence, with no applause. And that's why he wins. You want to be a lion, but you've got the habits of a sheep. You want to be free, but you refuse the chains of routine. You got it backwards. Discipline is not your enemy, it's your liberation. The truth is, every great man you admire, every athlete, every warrior, every titan of business or battle, got there not through bursts of energy, but through relentless repetition, through doing the things they hated on the days they felt nothing. Discipline is doing what you hate like you love it. That's what separates men who merely dream from men who manifest. Stop searching for motivation. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. The stars won't align, the angels won't sing. No one is coming to save you. You have to become the hero. You have to put on the armor of discipline and walk into the fire. Not once, not twice, every day. Because the moment you rely on feeling, you give up control. But the moment you surrender to discipline, you become the architect of your reality. And that's when the universe starts to bend in your favor. Not before. Not ever before. I had days where I felt dead inside. Days where I had nothing left in the tank, but I still trained, I still worked, I still kept moving forward. Because that's what warriors do. You don't earn your stripes when you feel good. You earn them when every cell in your body wants to quit, and you don't let it. That's where self-respect comes from. That's how you build a man who can't be broken. And don't confuse this with self-punishment. This isn't about masochism. This is about alignment. Because when you live with discipline, when you conquer yourself day in and day out, you begin to move in rhythm with something far greater than your ego. You begin to align with divine order, with purpose, with legacy. And that's when life starts opening doors you didn't even know existed. So burn the idea that motivation is your answer. It's not. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are fragile. They crack under pressure. But discipline is your sword and your shield. It cuts through laziness and it protects you from your own worst instincts. It's your armor in a world that's constantly trying to make you soft. Every time you ignore the alarm clock, every time you skip a session, every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you are sacrificing your crown for comfort. And the worst part is you know it. You feel it deep in your gut, that shame, that disappointment, that voice whispering you're better than this. And you are. But you'll never see that better version of yourself until you kill the part of you that keeps waiting for motivation to save you, because it never will. Only discipline can. And when you finally grasp that truth, not just in your head, but in your soul, that's when you become dangerous. That's when the world starts to feel your presence. That's when your life changes forever. There was a time in my life where everything felt meaningless. I had money, sure. I had the cars, the women, the watches, the status. But something in me was hollow. And it wasn't the kind of emptiness you fix with a vacation or a new pair of shoes. It was deeper, spiritual. A silent war raging inside me every morning I opened my eyes. I didn't know it at first, but I'd become addicted to the feeling of success instead of the system that creates it. I was chasing that high, the applause, the dopamine, the external validation. And the moment those feelings didn't show up, I slowed down. I coasted. And that's when it hit me like a sledgehammer. I had started living like a mortal, like a man who needed to feel good to do good. And that's how empires crumble, not in explosions, in slow decay, in missed workouts, in skipped routines, in subtle compromises that rot your discipline from the inside out. I remember one specific morning, cold, dark, and brutal. I woke up in Romania. And the air was so freezing I could see my breath in the room. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours. My body was sore from training, my mind fogged from non-stop work. And in that moment, motivation was dead, gone, not even a whisper. I didn't feel like doing anything. Every cell in my body screamed for comfort, to stay under the covers, skip training, cancel meetings. And you know what I did? I got up, I put my boots on, I stepped into the cold and trained like it was my last day on earth. Not because I was motivated, but because I was disciplined. Because I understood something most men never learn. When your feelings betray you, your discipline becomes your only ally. That single day, that small decision created a ripple effect. Because discipline is compound interest for the soul. Every rep you push through, every action you take when you're tired, every time you honor your word in silence, it all stacks. It sharpens your spirit until it becomes a weapon. You see, people romanticize motivation because it's easy, it's sexy. It feels good to be pumped up by music and flashy edits. But real life isn't a montage. Real life is waking up after failure, facing the world when no one believes in you, grinding in silence while others laugh. Discipline is the act of choosing purpose over pleasure every single day. That's how you rise. That's how you become a force. You want to know what changed my life? It wasn't one big event. It wasn't winning a fight or going viral or making $1 million. It was dragging myself out of bed every day for years, doing what needed to be done, whether I felt like it or not. That's the secret. That's the formula no one wants to hear because it's not sexy. Discipline is the foundation that makes miracles look effortless. People see the result and call it talent. They never see the war behind it, the nights you cried alone, the mornings your soul wanted to give up, the sacrifices no one claps for. I had a friend once, strong guy, talented, brilliant mind. He had more natural ability than I did, but he was a slave to his moods. If he felt good, he'd dominate. If he didn't, he'd disappear. And eventually life broke him, not because he was weak, but because he had no anchor. He had no discipline. He was like a kite in a storm, tossed by every emotional gust. I loved him, but I couldn't save him. No one could. because no one can build your discipline for you. No one can fight your inner battles. That's between you and the mirror, between you and God. And that's why I keep saying, motivation is not the answer. It's a lie you've been sold. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. You want to live with power? You build it, you earn it. You forge it in silence when no one is watching, and especially when you don't feel like it. There were nights where I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder if any of it mattered, if the grind, the pain, the isolation had a point. And in those moments, I discovered something most men never will. That discipline is divine. It connects you to something greater than flesh and blood. When you master discipline, you no longer live as a slave to the physical. You rise into alignment with the spiritual. That's when you become more than just a man. You become a vessel for purpose. Every step you take in discipline is a rebellion against the chaos that wants to consume you. Every time you say yes to action when your body begs for rest, you reclaim your soul from the modern world's distractions. And here's the part no one tells you. Once you embrace discipline fully, life stops being heavy. It becomes focused, sharp, clear. You stop needing to be hyped up. You stop waiting for inspiration. You stop being a slave to your moods. You simply do. You execute. And in that execution, you find freedom. You become addicted to progress, not pleasure. You find fulfillment in consistency, not chaos. That's the true shift. That's when everything begins to change. Not because life got easier, but because you got harder. You became forged in fire, unshakable. A man no longer ruled by feelings, but by purpose. And that's when your legacy begins. Not when you post about it, not when people applaud, but when you live it quietly, day in and day out, through the unwavering force of discipline. Every day you waste waiting for motivation is a day you'll never get back. People talk about time like it's infinite, like they've got decades to figure it all out. But you don't. You're not promised another week, another year, another moment. And while you scroll, waiting for that perfect wave of inspiration to crash over you and make life easy, someone else is waking up in the dark and putting in the reps, building himself into a weapon. Discipline is doing it when it's boring, when it hurts, when it feels empty, because you know who you're becoming is worth the pain. That's the difference between men who rise and men who rot. The ones who succeed don't wait to feel like it. They execute repeatedly, ruthlessly. And if you don't adopt that same mindset, you'll be left behind, soft, weak, filled with regret. What no one tells you is how expensive laziness is. Not in money, though that too, but in dignity, in lost potential, in the haunting awareness that you were capable of being great, but you chose comfort. That's the cost. That's the price of relying on motivation. Because motivation is a visitor. It shows up when it pleases and disappears when you need it most. You don't get to negotiate with your dreams. You show up or you get nothing. That's the deal. And the clock is ticking whether you move or not. Men lie to themselves with fantasies. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow. They convince themselves that once they feel better, once things are more stable, they'll begin. But the truth is brutal. You are dying every second you hesitate. Life is passing you by while you search for the perfect mood. You think you'll get another shot. You think the world is waiting for you to finally get serious. It's not. There are men out there who are hungrier, colder, more focused, and they're coming for everything you say you want. The gym isn't just about muscles. The work isn't just about money. This is a spiritual war. Every day you avoid discipline, you're surrendering to weakness. You're saying my feelings are more important than my destiny. And that mindset, it's fatal. Weakness doesn't hit you like a truck. It seeps in slowly, disguising itself as rest, comfort, peace. And by the time you realize it's killing you, it's already taken most of your fire. That's why you must move now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, even when it's quiet, especially when it's quiet. Fear is a tool if you use it correctly. You should be terrified, not of hard work, not of suffering, but of becoming average. You should be afraid of living a life that looks nothing like your potential. You should fear the mirror turning into your enemy. A man with discipline is dangerous because nothing owns him, not his mood, not his past, not his weakness. That's what you need to become. Not another soft soul floating from high to high, but a force so locked into purpose that even your bad days produce results. Because in the real world, the man who executes while uninspired wins. Every time. While you're searching for a feeling, he's already 10 steps ahead, bleeding, sweating, building. And don't get it twisted, discipline isn't just grit. It's not cold, heartless repetition. It's divine, it's cosmic, it's spiritual alignment. When you live with discipline, you silence chaos. You find peace. You stop being dragged by the current of life and start walking on water. Discipline is the only way to win the battle between your lower self and your higher self. You think the gym is just physical? It's not. It's a battleground where the soul learns to rise. You think waking up early is about productivity? No. It's a sacred act of war against your inner coward. You don't train to look good. You train to honor your future. You work not for applause, but for redemption. For every lazy version of yourself you've ever tolerated. And yes, this journey will cost you. It will demand more than you think you have. It will require you to bleed, to suffer, to be uncomfortable. But the alternative, that's worse. The alternative is a slow death with a smile on your face. The alternative is waking up at 40 with soft hands, a soft body, and a broken spirit, wondering where the time went. That's what's at stake. Motivation might get you started once, but only discipline will take you to the end. So when the pain hits, lean in. When doubt creeps in, smirk. When the fire dies, reignite it. Because you're not here to feel good. You're here to build a life worth waking up for. You want to know why discipline matters more than motivation? Because motivation is emotional, and emotions lie. Motivation tells you to rest when you should rise. It whispers comfort when you need challenge. Discipline is truth. It never changes. It says do the work, whether you're tired, whether you're sad, whether you're lost, do the work. Discipline is the only voice in your life that doesn't care about excuses. It only responds to action. That's why it's the most powerful force in your arsenal. That's why it's the path to greatness. And that's why the man who masters it becomes untouchable. Not just physically, but spiritually. He becomes a storm. He becomes legend. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more inspiration. You need to shut up and execute. Stop talking, stop planning, stop fantasizing, just do the work. Every time you sit and wait for the mood to strike, you lose ground to a version of yourself that could have existed. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it wants and vanishes when you need it most. Discipline stays when everything else runs. That's why the strong rise. That's why the few dominate, because they've stopped making their actions dependent on their emotions. Most men are slaves, not to a system, not to a government, to themselves. Enslaved by laziness, owned by distraction, chained to their need to feel ready. You are not supposed to be ready, you are supposed to act. Greatness is built in moments of silence, when no one's watching, when it's just you and the grind, and your only reward is progress. That's where the future kings are born, not in excitement, not in passion, but in discipline, in consistency, in pain that is embraced, not avoided. You want strength? Earn it. You want respect? Build it. You want success? Suffer for it. Nothing you want will ever be handed to you because you feel like it. That's not how the universe works. The world doesn't reward the emotional, it rewards the consistent. Your feelings are irrelevant, your excuses mean nothing. You either execute or you rot in regret. That's the cold truth. And yet, it's the most liberating truth once you accept it. Because once you stop waiting for the stars to align, you realize you are the one who controls the sky. This game is about dominance over self. You want to win? Control your urges, silence your doubts, move with force, even when your soul screams for ease. A man with discipline becomes inevitable. He doesn't peak once, he peaks every single day. That's the kind of power no motivation can match, because motivation is emotion, and emotions waver, but purpose carved in discipline, that's eternal, that's legacy. That's the kind of energy that bends the world around you, not the other way around. Don't confuse the struggle with failure. The struggle is the path. You were never supposed to coast. The pain is the payment. Every drop of sweat, every early morning, every rep done in silence, it's spiritual currency. Not just training your body, you're sharpening your soul. Discipline is the connection between your present suffering and your future salvation. That's why the weak quit. That's why the undisciplined fade. Because they think pain is punishment, but the disciplined know pain is prophecy. The pressure isn't a burden, it's a calling. It's shaping you for something greater than comfort could ever provide. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're just soft. And softness is cured in discipline. You want clarity? You want focus? Then start doing hard things. Get up early, train when you're tired, build when you're bored, speak the truth when it's easier to lie. That's where a power is forged. That's where a man becomes unstoppable. Discipline doesn't give you shortcuts. It makes you so sharp you cut through the nonsense. And when you've got that kind of edge, you don't need external hype. You are the hype. You become the fire everyone else tries to borrow. And don't you dare look at your past as proof you can't evolve. Your past is not a prison unless you let it be. You failed before? Good. You quit before? Fine. It's done. Burn it. What matters now is what you do today, right now, in this breath. Discipline is redemption through action. You don't need apologies. You need effort. You don't need therapy for your laziness. You need pressure. You need structure. You need to build yourself into something so undeniable that not even your past self could recognize you. That's how deep this has to go. You're not here to live a life of comfort. You're not here to coast through your 20s or rot in your 30s. You're here to rise, to push until your lungs burn, to fight through exhaustion, to find meaning in monotony, to put in work when no one claps and keep going when no one sees. Because that's the only way to earn power that lasts. Motivation may start the fire, but only discipline keeps it burning when the wind hits. And believe me, the wind will hit. Life will test you. It'll knock on your door dressed as failure, heartbreak, loss, fatigue. And when it does, the question won't be how inspired you feel. It'll be whether you still move, still grind, still rise. That's where winners are born. So stand up, breathe deep, and remember who you were meant to be. Stop waiting to feel good. Start acting like a man possessed. Not with rage, but with purpose. Not with desperation, but with divine fire. Because your discipline isn't just about results. It's about your identity. It's about who you become when no one's watching. Discipline is the language of warriors, the heartbeat of champions, the rhythm of immortals. If you want a life most will never have, you have to do what most will never do. And that begins with a simple, brutal truth. Discipline over motivation. Every single time. There comes a point when you stop listening and you start doing, not because you're hyped, not because the music's loud, not because the lights are bright, but because you're tired of being the weak version of yourself. If you've made it this far, then something in your soul is begging to be awakened. Not your feelings, your essence, your masculine force. Discipline is when your soul takes control of your flesh and says, move. No permission, no hesitation. Just war with the version of you that settles. This is the line in the sand, right now. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when life gets easier. There will never be a perfect moment. That's the trick your mind plays on you to keep you comfortable in chaos. The truth is, the hard road is the only road. Your future isn't waiting for motivation, it's waiting for you to suffer with purpose. The longer you wait, the colder your fire gets. And let me tell you, once that fire dies, you're not living anymore, you're just existing, drifting, consumed by the same cycle of guilt, shame, and excuses. You've heard enough. You've learned enough. You've dreamed enough. Now it's time to build. Build with no applause. Build when your hands shake. Build when your legs ache. Discipline is action in the face of doubt. Movement in the face of fear. Consistency in the face of chaos. And the moment you decide that your feelings no longer run your life, you become untouchable. Because discipline makes you a force of nature. Motivation is lightning. It strikes, it's beautiful, and then it's gone. But discipline is the sun. It rises every day, no matter what. And it brings life to everything it touches. Think about it. How many days have you wasted waiting for the right mindset? How many hours have you let slip because the vibe wasn't right, the energy wasn't aligned, the moment didn't feel magical? Enough! That mindset is spiritual suicide. You kill your potential every time you wait to feel ready. You are not meant to live a life dictated by feelings. You are built to rise above them and bend reality with consistent effort. That's not just discipline, that's divine masculinity in motion. That's what separates the warriors from the watchers. Your mission is simple, but it's not easy. Destroy the part of you that hesitates. Destroy the weak voice that says, not today. You don't need a new year. You don't need a Monday. You need now. You need to get up, lock in, and refuse to stop. If your body aches, go anyway. If your mind protests, ignore it. If your environment is noisy, create silence within yourself. That's where power lives, not in comfort, but in confrontation. Discipline is the quiet promise you keep with yourself when no one's watching, when no one believes, when everything in you screams to quit. You want a better life, then live like it. Don't talk about dreams, outwork them. Don't post about hustle, be it. Don't preach about growth, bleed for it. The world is filled with people who speak like lions and move like lambs. Don't be that. Be the storm, be the consistency, be the man who shows up without fanfare and leaves results in his wake. And when the world asks how you did it, the answer won't be hype or fate or luck. It'll be one word: discipline. And for the ones who think discipline is cold, robotic, lifeless, they don't understand it. Discipline is not the absence of soul, it's the full expression of it. It's what allows your higher self to shine through the noise. It gives structure to chaos, direction to dreams, and power to potential. It's the spiritual armor that protects your mission from distraction and self-sabotage. And once you taste the clarity it brings, motivation will feel like a sugar high compared to the purity of purpose. This isn't just about success, it's about alignment, about walking in truth, about earning peace through pressure. Every rep you do in the gym, every hour you spend on your craft, every minute you fight off laziness. It's a prayer to the universe that says, I will not be average. It's you proving without speaking that you're here to conquer, not coast. That you're a weapon, sharpened daily. Discipline is a spiritual path disguised as repetition, the divine force hiding in daily grind. And those who master it unlock freedom most never take. So what now? Are you going to close this and scroll back into mediocrity? Or are you going to stand up and declare war on weakness? The clock doesn't care. Life doesn't care. God gave you breath today. Use it like it matters. Your discipline is the altar where your old self dies and your higher self is resurrected. Don't miss the chance. Don't waste the pain. One disciplined day is worth more than 1,000 motivated ones. Let that echo in your mind every morning. Let it push you when you're tired. Let it haunt you when you want to quit. This is the path, not of the many, but of the chosen. And if you're hearing this, then deep down, you were never meant to be average. You were meant to master yourself. And that mastery begins now with the truth carved in stone: discipline over motivation. Every single time